So, hello everyone, and a warm welcome to this special webinar from the SPD Social Policy and Development International Programme at Thammasat University. My name is Pred Evans, and I'm a lecturer and deputy director on the programme. This is one of a series of webinars that we're holding throughout the year, bringing in experts from a wide range of fields to share their knowledge with us. And today, I'm delighted to welcome Khun Lee Ayu Chuepa, the founder of Akha Ama Coffee and social entrepreneur, as our special guest. Akha Ama is an award-winning community-based social enterprise committed to sustainable coffee. And today, we're going to be talking to Khun Lee about how he developed his enterprise to provide high-quality coffee to global consumers while protecting the livelihood of his community's farmers. So today's session is an interactive one. Please do ask questions by raising your hand in the Zoom function or by posting any questions at any time into the chat box. But first of all, before we start our conversation with Khun Lee, let's take a look at a brief video clip introducing Akha Ama.
My name is Lee, and you can call me Ayu. That's my full name. I belong to Akha indigenous community. My whole family is there from Akha. I grew up in the pretty remote villages. I found Akha Ama Coffee since 2010. It's an enterprise to support coffee farmers and the villagers to have better coffee process, better qualities, and also better income. When I was young, actually coffee is not a thing for us because there's no price, there's no qualities, and nobody drink coffee. Only thing that I can see is the coffee cherries. So I see that when I walk to school, I just pick some coffee cherries and just eat the mucilage or the coffee. And I love that. I can see the birds, I can see squirrel. They all love these cherries, but never knew that this is coffee. And one day that I will come back to the coffee. When I came across to the problems that farmers are facing, like poverty, quality of education. So that's why they need the children drop out of the school, they go down to work in a construction site, they work in a karaoke bar, they work in a gas stations and all this stuff. Must have something that we can change. Start from something that they have. And coffee is something that they have been growing for ages. Coffee is international. Coffee is something that people from every corner of the world talk about. The young people, mostly in my hometown, they don't really want to become the farmers. But then I think these days is quite different because they can see that whatever that I do or whatever that Akha has been doing is generating impact and is a very good impact to society. And they can see that this income is not only to make a living for the communities, but also can be proud that your family you can do so many things. You can save diversity. You can have the best kind of food you can grow. These days you can see that so many people talk about food sustainability, but not many of them talk about food security. For us right now, with my age or my generation, we start to call our friends back to home. I start to do with coffee, then different people start to do with different things, tea, fruits, vegetables. Right now, it's becoming something not quite the same like 10 or 20 years ago when we said that, okay, would you like to become a farmer? None of them said yes. I don't say yes. I used to think, I want to be a banker, I want to work in a very fancy company, I want to go to overseas. This, the dream from the young boy from the village. And I believe that most of them like that at that time. But now, you can see that being farmer, you can do so much. It's not easy job, but also very beautiful. Coffee that you grow, you cannot grow with alone. You have to grow with different flower, different tree, different banana, different kind of indigenous trees. I think that's beautiful, We even talk about how to take care of the insects and bees. So these days we have to think it's a very different way, not just about growing something that you can generate income, growing something that you benefit for the money. Most important is not only about the income, but that you save biodiversity. You save that ecological system in your farm. How to make the villagers, how to make farmers understand the importance of the tree or the things that grow besides whatever that they want to grow. Then you can see that young people, they will feel like, yeah, you know, we care about the environment, we care about climate change, we care about the food. So you see that coffee is one of the things that's telling your story, generating the income to your company, your families. But in the same time, you save the entire species along with coffee. I think if you can do this, the young farmers, the young people that's graduate from university or the well-educated people will come back or become the farmers for sure. Yeah.
Yes, they were talking about.
So Khun Lee, welcome to our webinar today. I'm so pleased to have you with us.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and really happy to be able to share some, you know, at least some part of experience through online, you know.
Excellent. Yes, we're online, unfortunately. Maybe one day, hopefully face to face. It's been a long time since I first came across Akha Ama. I was working for the British Council at the time, back in 2010, with yourself and other rising social entrepreneurs. And since then, I've enjoyed visiting your cafes in Chiang Mai and tasting your coffee, which I really have to say is one of the best I've ever tried.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah, well, you know, I think at the same time that, you know, I think back then, you know, 2012, that I joined British Council to join a workshop and the events in London as well.
Excellent. So let's maybe start at the beginning. I'll ask a few questions maybe to get us going. Maybe we could start with you explaining a little bit about your background, your childhood, your early days, and your education. And how has your background and identity influenced you?
Thank you. I think, let's say, you know, being a Thai person and born in small village with the indigenous background, I think that's really significant. You know, I to be honest, I'm very proud that, you know, I'm a Thai, I'm an indigenous person, but at the same time, you know, that's somehow brought me into like different aspect, like it's a cultural aspect, it's a small power, multicultural society where I can generate a bunch of the idea which is I can apply to my life, especially when I was young. It's pretty simple, very I would say very simple life where I always like to share with my families, in especially for food, for habitat, like our home. It's everything is very simple and very natural, but I guess it's not enough for the dynamic of the world that changing very fast and very different from the old days when I was young. My parents, they have no chance to access to school. Myself, I'm the first generation from the families to earn the degree, and there's many things that we kind of, you know, kind of part of a gut feeling where we try to overcome some kind of difficulties, but it's a part of the journey where, you know, I have to decide a bit, either I will stay and live in small village like my parent generations, or I have to go out to learn something from outside to make sure that I have a better way to come back to home. It's not actually it's to go out from home. It's not to go away. It's definitely to find out the way to go home. So I think that's really meaningful to me about a part of the educations. The poverty that challenge our families a lot, because my families we don't access to much of the financial support, but we have food, we have the beautiful life. But when you talk about the journey to go out to access to bigger worlds, you need money. That's something that you cannot deny. So the mobility of the village at that time is more like people try to sell everything that they could sell, to sell produce, to sell animals, to send their kids to school. I think that's something that I can see and I can learn from the old day. But if you ask me like how's the backgrounds actually influence to my life, it's really significant in that way, because to know the cultural asset, to know the background where I'm from, it's really valuable in terms of the seeing the value, seeing the beauty of the cultural asset that we have. But at the same time, we don't deny the realities that we have to challenge with the global development, the bigger worlds that we have to bring back to home. I think that's really the balance of how the education, how the background, how the indigenous is actually meaningful in my life. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing your inspiring story from the beginnings, as it were. And I was also impressed with when you talk in one of the videos about your challenge to learn the Thai language, for example. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely, because the first language, my mother tongue is Akha, which is very well. At that time, I don't know if it's really important to learn other things or other languages, but as soon as you realize that you have to go to school, definitely you have to speak the same language. Whatever that your folks or your friends in the classroom will speaking. To learn Thai, it's not easy because we never have the school in our village. I have to walk for like 4 kilometers away from my hometown to go to the Thai school, and that happened when I was 7 years old. And to go to school with the motivations, with the dream that we want to extend our childhood, our dream, it is something that you could not set in plan that much, because whatever that your teachers will give you, it's something that never happened in my life when I was born and raised in the village. So totally new things, totally a new language, totally a new culture. I have to adapt into my my life, and that's how I learned that the difference between the society of the community and the society that bigger than our community is the diversity of the community that given to me, about the opportunity to learn language and to see broader community. I start from Thai language, but when I start to communicate in Thai, I found that the Thai language is not only languages that I will be learn, because I can see that the Thai language brought me into like a bigger community, bigger world, and I believe that out there should be some other languages that brought me to I don't know, maybe to the moon, so that's something, unlimited. Um, it's very, very important part that I start learning different languages apart from Akha language. And the Thai language is, it's, as it's very, sometimes very unfair, very complicated, very but that's the culture. This is the root of the culture of different people, different indigenous. So I think the beauty is always every process for that. So I'm happy that now I speaking Thai, speaking English as well.
Yes, obviously the opportunities that languages bring, and it shows that you've overcome so many difficulties and obstacles there through sheer hard work as well, because your English is also excellent, of course, as well. So
it's actually, it's funny because when I start to learn Thai and try to speak Thai, there are many people making fun of me because my accent is very, very different, and my culture is very different, especially when I finish from primary school and start to go to secondary school and high school. It's phenomenal because we met so many different backgrounds people in the same school, and we all speak Thai, but we all speak Thai in a very different way, and we were just making fun of each other. But that's when we were quite young. But if this day, probably you don't want to hear people looking down to someone, but I don't feel pressure. I don't feel anything that bad, because that's the difference. Just but everyone understand the same point. So I think that's beauty as well.
Sure, for sure. So let's move on. I'm sure we'll come back to this a little bit later as well.
Sure.
Let's move on to Akha Ama itself then. So we've heard from your background and your hugely inspiring story about your upbringing. But please describe Akha Ama to us. What is it? And how did you get the idea for it in the first place? And what's the philosophy behind it?
Oh, that's an easy question, but it's kind of hard to answer as well, Fred. If you look back to like 2009 or 2010, at that time I still working for Child's Dream Foundations, and that's what was very first job that I had in my life, and I love to be with the team. I proud to be part of the Child's Dream. I work for the community development, helping the refugee, building school and sanitary stations, or helping for the improving the health for many community in sub-Mekong regions countries. And I found that the dream is start to grow. I don't say that my path or my motivations change. My passion, my motivation still there, helping to community to be access to better life quality. But when I was working with Child's Dream, I learned a lot, and learning a lot also kind of brought my skill and experience, and I can see my dream that I call them my dreams that kind of more profoundly, kind of like profound, and I feel like it's part of the genetic, it's part of the DNA that I would like to do for community development work. But when I look at the community sides, I also wish to see myself to be part of the asset relations of the community, to be execute or to be able to solve the challenges or obstacles that would be challenging back to my hometown. So the idea of the Akha Ama coffee is a start from exploring the challenges and problem that we are facing in hometown. And I love the situation because I love to hear people talk about their life. I love to hear about their challenges, and I love to hear their dreams. So at that time, it's about like 12 years, 13 years ago, nobody want to support the children in the small community like my hometown to come back and do something at a hometown. But I feel like I got the feeling that we need to change that direction, that momentum, because I feel like we start to earn more like knowledge and skills, but mostly we spend that in the city, in a big city or countries or overseas to generate the income for the individually. So I feel like it would be sad if we use the whole skill and knowledge that we learned 20 years in the school and spend that about 40 years to do only for private benefit. So working with Child's Dream, that's brought the idea that I would like to do something for my community. So exploring the community together with to hear the way to move forward, to make sure that we can be a part of that, the movement, to make sure that the community will access the better quality, the better in terms of the education, in terms of the economy, in terms of environment as well. So this kind of things happen from listening to all the participants, all the stakeholders from the village. And lucky enough that I learned a lot about to define this kind of problem into the strategic plan, since I was working for Child's Dream. So I like that way of collecting the data, collecting that experience, and putting into detail and prioritize everything to make sure that we can kickstart something positively. So to see the challenge and obstacle, it's the beauty part of my plan. So that's why I apply social enterprise model. So social entrepreneurship models, it's very beautiful things, because when you start the enterprise, normally the private enterprise, it could be very difficult already, but when you look at social enterprise, to build that sustainable model up and then to kickstart, it is something, a big question for Thailand back then. So I'm talking about 12 to 13 years ago when I start to talk about social enterprise, and people are like, huh? It's a charity? Is it not profit? Is it something else that different from making merit or something like that? So the ecosystem, the experience of the social enterprise in Thailand is not mature. I mean, it was not mature at that time. Right now, we are talking about in another level, but at that time we can see that there's a big space that we can start to work with community and apply the business model into enterprise to make sure that we can solve the problem. And many people ask me, why have to be a coffee, in this area. The reason I have to be coffee is not because of I love the coffee, but it's because of the community. They work together to see the possibility to solve the problem with coffee, to tackle many problems that they are facing, such as economical problems. The properties are huge. If you look back to like 10, 20, right now it's still challenging, but back then we try to find a solution to make sure that the villagers generate enough and sustainable income to their families. But at the same time, we are looking at the young children that are growing up in under these families has better opportunity to access to better educations. But then if the community could not handle with the better solution for the economy, there's no way that the people can change the problem of the education that we are facing. But at the same time, the education that help to lift the quality of environmental problems that many people say, oh, indigenous people, they burn the rice field, they burn the farm or whatever. But is it from the agricultural problem only? No, it's from every root of the problem that's connected. So when we found this, we just make sure that, okay, we would like to go for the set our master goal for 3 parts that we want to focus. Number 1 is to have to make sure that the economy will be better, the education will be better, and environmental parts will be better. And that's the coffee will suit into every stakeholder, every process for the integrated business that we design together with the community. So the coffee can grow with many different trees, with the native trees. We don't need to cut anything down. We don't need to burn. But at the same time, coffee is trading across the world and just second largest commodity products. And we found that's a huge opportunity that we can generate sustainable income as well. And every family would like to send the kids to school. So that's the philosophy behind as how to work together with the community to make sure that design the whole models into one kind of melting pot that we could kickstart.
How did you develop those skills? Because you, as far as I know, you didn't study business. Did you find that a natural skill that you had you talk about actually really enjoying that part as well, right? The strategies, the finding the gaps, the planning. How did that come about? Was that something that just developed naturally?
I think number 1 is being a social entrepreneur. The first thing is that I think everyone's have very special DNA. I believe that. But one thing that we have to develop, part of the being an entrepreneur, is not only about being the entrepreneur, but we have to open the mindset. We have to accept some part of our journey, our life, that we don't know something, that open opportunity for us to access to many more. So I think business skill, I think entrepreneurship skill, it's just something that you can learn every day. You don't need to learn from the young age, and then you will start a social enterprise when you're ready to do the business. But you can actually start with your motivation, your passions, but at the same time you learn and practice that. But the most important part is I found as you need to have a very open mind. That's number 1. And dare to accept that you don't know something, to allow you to go out to learn. And at the same time, you brave to fail, to make sure that you will be success. So it's an easy kind of model for me that to dream profoundly, but at the same time you have to have that systematic plan. Otherwise you don't know what to do in the first day, second day, the third day. So you have to have this systematic plan. But the dream with a systematic plan is not enough, because being the entrepreneur to do the business, you have to challenge with a very dynamic problem every day. You don't know what kind of problem could happen in the day 1, the day 2, or day 3. So that's why when you look at the scenario, I think that's something that you can projections yourself, that how do you want to see yourself. It's not thing to do with a learning business. It's not thing to do with a how good of the business person that you are, but actually you keen to learn, you keen to fail, you keen to stand up and say, you know, I will fight, I will continue to fight. I think that kind of the motivations, it's a need. um Maybe you can say that one of the proposed in for the for the social entrepreneur. And social entrepreneur doesn't need to learn the same thing. You can learn different things. You can learn um, many things that you can apply, because different skill that will share the dynamic for the ecosystem of the social enterprise. In my case, I have to learn about the coffee. I have to learn about the commodity trading, because that's the thing that I promised the community, that I would like to help them to distribute the produce. At the same time, how could balance the between revenue and the sustainability that we have to build. That's why we have to balance those two social impact, but at the same time create a revenue that sustain the whole process of this integrated business. I think that's how I learned the whole thing every day. You know, I don't say that I'm expert or professionals in this kind of things, but I found that I keen to learn something new every day. So that made me broader. That's made me met many people that see the same values, the same culture at the same time. And I guess it's more like about the momentum that we start to create to go around together. And that's how you create the social enterprise community. So to be honest, I'm not good at a business things. So but I'm learning. Great.
Well, you provide us with some really important and interesting insights there into social entrepreneurship itself and how it works. Thank you so much. I believe also you educated yourself in terms of coffee and so on with partnerships. And in the US, did you spend some time there as well, learning about it?
Yes, in US, I learned about how to manage kind of retail and wholesale accounts, but at the same time, it's about the culture of the coffee, that you are from the producing countries, and to see the consuming countries like US, that's create a culture. It's very lively. It's very beautiful at the same time. So people are happy to share with you, especially when you tell them that you are from the families who grow coffee, and they want to hear about your family, your story, your things. And it is something that we can learn from them as well. That's okay. Well, I want to hear, why is people are drinking so much of coffee? Why is the delicious coffee is defined in this way? What is the definitions of doing the coffee entrepreneurship? It's something that you are sharing, the kind of win-win situation, win-win, the kind of journey when you're there. And part of that, being in US at that time, not just in US, actually I was in UK for several times as well. I met people in the Cafe Direct, a Divine Chocolate, and or even like someone who was doing a huge movement about the food industry, like Tim Lam in the Borough Market. So that's kind of thing. It's somehow you create that momentum, but you pick up that something that you need in your industry, your career. I think it's not matter how many times that you actually exhibit yourself or go out to experience yourself, but it's about like how could you actually adopt it into like your plan, your strategy, your dream, which is that's create the, as I say, you know, diversity of the knowledge, the diversity of the experience that create so much values that you can say, okay, well, you know, I learned theory 1 from here, theory 2 from here, but if you put your hands on, you touch it, you smell it, you feel it, you taste it, you know, it's beautiful. I think that is more important than you know, reading a books about the tools and you never apply for it. I think that's something very, very, very different. One time, you know, I went to the expo in Milan. That's a World Expo, and then I learned a lot from that expo as well, because I'm part of that slow food movement, where, you know, European nations or many countries from different countries, like Jamie Oliver, he's doing like 1,000 farm in Africa. He used to do like 15 restaurant, which is right now I think he closed it, but we were at the same directions, we were at the same movement, and so I learned from so many pioneers that they are the food entrepreneur, they are food tech people. I think that is very, very important and meaningful for me to be able to travel and not limit myself to be in the cave in Thailand or in Chiang Mai. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
I think that's very, very valuable.
Absolutely. And what's striking is in the very short time, the way you've reached out internationally, and I know you're expanding and have already expanded internationally to Japan, for example, but we'll talk about that, the future as well in a minute. I noticed we have a question in the chat box. And just before we go to that question, I just want to ask you one other question about the communities themselves. In what way has the community changed as a result of your work with Akha Ama? And then we'll go into the chat box for the next question. So please do ask your questions, everybody, either by raising your hand or in the chat box. So yeah, my question is, how has the community changed as a result of your work?
I think to be honest, I don't want to claim every development part that happened in the community. I don't want to you know, to be person that you know, taking that credit, but something that I can see from my eyes and from my experience to work with them. It's about creating the momentum of the people who would like to do something very similar or doing good for society. Let me describe this one way. You know, when I start to do Akha Ama coffee, many people ask me like why I have to decide to come back to home, since I have opportunity to go out and then access to better opportunity for my life. My answer is very simple, and then I told them that, you know, I would like to have friends. I don't want to be alone, and to do that, I want to do something very meaningful for start from my hometown, and that is something that I told every people, that everyone that talk to me about it, the same questions, that, you know, I want to see young people that want to drive the community into sustainable directions. I want to see more dynamic, more knowledge, not just being the farmers, but different knowledge applying back to the community. When I was about 20 or 22 years old, you can see that, you know, 90% of the young people, they move out from the community.
Yeah.
But right now, when you look back to my community right now, the same generation that I grew up, 90% they are at home now. So what are they doing? They're doing, they're being the agricultural entrepreneur. They're growing things like, plants, fruits, teas, coffee, and many of them become the entrepreneur that's supporting not just their families, supporting the whole system of the community that they want to change into better quality, such as educations, such as the choice of the career. So right now in the village, we need like designer, graphic designer, people who are doing the landscape designer, or we are doing the, for food product producer, packaging designer. It's that kind of thing happen. Entrepreneur who are doing the marketing, people who come back to be say yes, I want to be the farmers who grows coffee not for quantity but for quality. And that's extent, though the old days when I talk to the parents generations, they want to grow more to earn more. But these days we are talking about to grow enough, but that we can earn more. It's changing a lot. At the same time, the quality of living, you don't need to be just the farmers who producing the fruits, the teas, the coffee, but they can be someone who can connect it to the outside community, represent community to tell them about what they are doing in the community. So you can see that people start to change their career. People start to generate different ideas to make sure that the sustainability will happen more and more every day. One thing that I can see is the seasonal calendar. When I start to talk to them, I start from very simple ways that I want to see the calendar that the whole years that they move on from the January until like December. But this is not only for to see their living or their living culture, but I want to see what do they spend, what do they earn, what do they create, or what kind of the challenge that they are facing, what kind of opportunity that they could include it into that calendar. And that's create significant data for me to make sure that every time that I talk to them, I can see their eyes that are sparking, and they're talking about the future by not feeling that being in the community, like in the indigenous community, is something I don't know what to call, like have the remote or outdated. They feel like they can access to the same information, whatever that people access in Bangkok.
Yeah.
They are sharing the same kind of the civilizations. So that's how I can see right now what happened to my community.
Excellent. We have quite a few questions as well in chat box now. So let's move into the chat box.
Okay.
A question from Richard in the UK. What is more important to you, the quality of the coffee you produce or the good works that you can deliver through what you're doing?
This is very important questions, and I like this question a lot. To me, it's more or less equally important, because the quality of produce or product, it's very important as well. But at the same time, impact that we can create through Akha Ama coffee is also very, very important. That's why we always try to say that how could we balance between social impacts that we create, but at the same time the service, the products that we present out to our customers will be consumed not because of they feel like they feel pity, they feel want to be part of that to develop the community. It's nothing wrong for that, because people want to help, people want to share their support. But anytime that we position our produce or products to market in a pity way, you know, people can invest for 1 or 2 times. That's it. And people will not come back to reinvest to our products because they don't see the point to buy or to get the products and waste the products in somewhere else. So I think to create the products in a very high quality, with doing a very high quality of the work in the community, to me it's the same thing. Yeah, so it's to me, I can say that equally is important. Yeah.
Thank you. And the next question is from Dr. Sorosic, who from our SPD program. And John Sorosic is asking about the challenges you faced in setting up. So did you face any challenges? For example, cooperation within the community, management, marketing, and so on. And if so, how did you tackle those challenges?
Oh, this is very, very nice questions as well. And at the same time, I have to say that, you know, everything that Dr. Sorosic mentioned is, it's, you know, were not easy, and also I can see that, you know, these days it could be opportunity, but back then when I start, almost everything is, you know, kind of facing to challenges and difficulties. I start from setting up Akha Ama Coffee by looking at the way that I set up is like to find an angel investor and start from scratch where I don't have the grants to start from by myself, but have to present or have to pitch this idea, this dream to someone to be able to share the values. So it's not easy to me to as the social workers or social backgrounds to make sure that the idea that I'm generating is actually workable or realistic. And I believe that we need someone who believe in this kind of the dream or this kind of plan as well. And I'm lucky enough that the families from Switzerland, they support through Child's Dream Foundations to be able to start Akha Ama Coffee in 2010. So the grants that I start is Angel Fund. So the family is called the startup grants for social enterprise, and that's one challenge. That's the second part is about the setting up. The enterprise is already difficult, but to make sure that the enterprise will stay alive and move on, it's really difficult. Very, very challenges. You know, it's not easy at all, because your plan, you have a different scenario, but from the day one that you have start to do, there's so many things that you cannot go along with the plan that you put in the paper. You have to use a different idea, different skill that you have to solve even, you know, daily operations problem that you are facing. So there's no such an instant solutions to solve that, but I think to make sure that the community themselves to believe in the idea that we are start, and at the same time the donor or the investor and customer, they believe in the brand that we start. It's a kind of the pressure that you're carrying for both sides. But one thing that helped me to balance the obstacle or the difficulty I'm facing, it's not about like too scared, but at the same time you feel like you have many people who are interested in your idea and models. You know, I should not be scared. I should not stop here, but I have the feeling that I have to be brave But at the same time, I have to make sure that have to be mindful and have to humble. So I think that's kind of the thing is will guide me to see many people who knows different things. I don't know about the marketing. I start to talk to people who knows about this thing, and they provide or they contribute me with the without any charges. I talk to people who doing very very good marketing, very very well packaging, but I don't have the asset or the values to pay for them. But they see the motivation that I want to make it happen. I think the values of this kind of thing is have to be from the bottom of the heart to present to people that I really need the help for this, but not because of taking grants from them, but because of we want to make it happen to better for the community. I think this kind of the feeling, this kind of the approach, it is something that this world still need. More and more people thinking that, okay, well, I don't know this, I will pay for someone to consult. I will pay for consultants to do this. Yes, there's many people out there to do the consulting or they help to the business. But what about like someone like me who have a limited access to the financial support, limited for the knowledge? We need someone who could come to the same agenda and say, okay, I can contribute this much, and this person contribute this much, and that's create the momentum to solve that problem. So I use this kind of the idea all the time to when I face the obstacle, and even in the community when people don't believe that the coffee could be one of the values to adjust and to create a sustainability. We talk to so many professor, academia, researcher, expert, because that's how people believe in the experience of the somewhere else, not just the kids from the same village like me that's going together with them. And sometimes they feel like, yeah, I can talk to you like the whole day, but you are the same kids that growing up in the same village. But what about like if we bring the expert, if we can create the co-creator from different organizations, from different university, to talk the same thing for the participant. That is phenomenal as well. So I think the art of management is that's have to be in you.
Yeah.
Otherwise you cannot solve the problem by yourself, everything. You have to believe that there's a stakeholder, there's a participant that can work together to move to solve the challenges as well. Yeah.
I like what you say there about staying mindful and staying humble. And as you say, I mean, the nature of the challenges, I think, change over time as well, probably. And as you becoming and expanding, the challenges will change, of course, with the international elements coming in. But what you say about building relationships and sourcing the expertise, which is a skill in itself, is really interesting. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next question, because we have some really interesting questions in here from different kinds of angles. The next one is from a coffee geek. She says, so Khun Chanaka, I'm one of the coffee geeks, I think we all are, or many of us are, that also want to start my own coffee business, whether in roasting, brewing, roasting industry, etc. But the fact that in Thailand nowadays, coffee culture is widely touched upon a variety of social levels in comparison to around 10 years ago, when you first started your business, when the coffee market was not considered so much amongst entrepreneurs. So do you think that that me, with the same energy, same motivation, and same resources provided like you at the beginning, could make the likely outcome as you did, could make the same kind of success? So there's a question there about how to make it as an entrepreneur, I guess.
I think that's a very very beautiful question as well. And I have to say that I believe that whatever that I have done for the past 10 years, probably you could be done in 4 or 5 years. That's the feeling that I have. So if you want to start a business as something similar to what I do, or totally different, doesn't matter. If you want to do with a coffee business, there are density of people that ready to support, a density of people who understand the coffee culture, the coffee industry. So I have to say, yes, you have a huge opportunity to be successful person in this business. But at the same time, I feel like this is an opportunity for us to make sure that the variety of coffee, not just a variety of the society or community, is the key that we can generate, and we can show the identity, the outstanding of the flavor, the characteristic of the coffee. People are looking for that. People are willing to pay for a beautiful amount of the money for better solution for community. People always like to pay for social costs for business, because they feel not just delicious, but becoming part of the movement that they can contribute the sustainability. So I think, yes, you should not wait for that tomorrow. You should start right now, right away.
Yeah, excellent advice. We're running out of time, unfortunately. I can't believe the hour has gone so quickly, but we do have time for a couple more questions. And the next one is focused on the financial aspect. And Ali is a student on the SPD program. Can you elaborate, how do you call funds and generate financial support from the beginning and until now? How do you leverage this financial support or funds to reach international audience at a rapid pace? And specifically, are you directly responsible for the due diligence process to convince funders, etc.?
Yes, from the beginning, for the building social business models that I've been applying for the Akha Ama, is start from myself and start to call for the meeting, and then start to talk to the team. And the reason that I said about this, because when I talk to the community, they can share with me all the obstacle and challenges that they have, and also the dream that they want to make it happen. But the community needs someone who could put everything in a system and tell the people who could support this kind of the idea and dreams that it worth to support for this community, this kind of models. So yes, I start to involve in this models in the first day that I start the idea, until even pitching the project with a funder or investor, and clearly mentioning from the beginning that this social business model have to be angel investment. So it's not sharing profit or equity with a donor or investor, but investor, they have rights to know in the first 3 years that what is doing good, what's doing not quite well, and what have to be adapt and change and solve. So every 3 months, after I receive the fund from the angel investor, I have to write the report for the donor. And every time that I have done that report, it's kind of a very very good feeling that I can reflect myself as well. Every 3 months I can reflect myself. At the same time, people can see that if the models that I'm doing is actually moving forward to the right directions, or if I need someone to come and help. So I think this kind of thing it's part of the process to be a key success. But at the same time, the financial support is something that I have to say that I have to do from the accounting system by myself. I have to taking care that, you know, I could tell everything, every step that I spend and everything that I have to invest for the in the first 3 years. So my plan was the first year I have to set up the office and the brand. The second year have to be break even. The third year has to be collecting some of the profit that I can expand in the fourth year. So that's the step of the models that I start from 2009. And luckily we could follow the plan that we do. Many things we could do better. Many things we have to take more time. But at the end of the day, you know, I think the plans that we set, it's very, very important. And I feel like people like to hear about it all the time, especially students. Every year, many people come and say, Lee, you know, could you share your strategic plan, your extra plan, your financial plan? If I go back to read my proposal or my business models from the first day, it looked a little bit funny because, you know, I've been doing for the 12 years now, but you know, it could tears me as well because I feel like, wow, you know, I start the idea from the first day to move this enterprise forward to not just local but to international, but never thought that we could come this far for like 12 years or so I've still quite surprised myself, and also surprising in the way that we manage this. But absolutely, you know, the plan it's the key, and also to reflect the plan is more important than the skill or the business skill that you have. Yeah.
Khun Lee, while we're talking, I'm getting direct messages from some students asking about internships at Akha Ama. So you've obviously inspired our students, and I will mention to them that I've already mentioned it to you earlier, and possibly that's something that we can consider later on. So that's really good sign, I think. Let's just go quickly to the next message. If you leave the community for the question, sorry, if you leave the community for your future dream, how do you sustain that project? Can the community stand by itself?
I think it's a very, very important question. And then I had this question from the first day that I start to create the models. What I start to do is that I call for the participation, not just asking the farmers to be invest to Akha Ama coffee business, because to invest to Akha Ama coffee business by using the raw material like coffee beans is generating the income for the families. That's one thing. But what I do is I start to call for the young people from the same families to be part of the company, working with us, experience with us, until that they want to go back to do by themselves, to support by the family by themselves. And we are talking about, this is the third or the fourth generation that they start to work with us. Many of them, they have their own farm. They went back to home to do the process for the better quality of coffee, better models. Many people start with us. And those people I call change agents. They are the part of the movement that they extend the development rather than have to wait for Akha Ama coffee or myself to do everything, but they're becoming part of that. You know, after they move out from the Akha Ama coffee, they can still extend the philosophy of the sustainability. Many of them become a roaster. Many people become the barista. Many people become the entrepreneur that they own their own business. So I think that's the way that we look at a long-term relationship and long-term development. That even though today, if I have to disappear from the community, they could still apply the knowledge, the skill, the experience that they earn from us to continue to make even better, or it's more like exponential development that could happen in many villages, not just in my hometown.
Great question from now our student on SPDA, and a great answer too. Thank you very much. We are running out of time, but I know we can just get a few more minutes of your time. I know you're very busy, but you've kindly agreed to take a few more minutes. I want to just maybe look to the future. And could you first of all maybe just explain a little bit about the Tokyo venture, how that came about and what it is? And then also, have you thought of expanding into other products other than coffee?
This is the very interesting, because after 10 years of the working with the Akha Ama coffee, we start to realize that we need something to challenge ourselves as well. There's many things challenge to us, yes, but we feel like we want to do a very good challenge to our team, and the team's like we would like to expand our brand, our credit to another level. We want to communicate with the people that yes, we are from local, but it doesn't mean that we cannot grow to global. So that's the message that we want to mark on this industry, that even though we start from a very small enterprise, like community-based initiative program or project, but if we could invest and if we could make it more solid and make it more successful future, then we could grow not just in the local, not just in Thailand, but we look at other countries. But to look at the other countries, we have the directions we want to expand to, like Japan. The reason that we choose Japan is because, well, first of all, the culture of the coffee is very, very, very wild, very, very mature. The secondly, I think the culture of the Japanese, they always love the story behind the sustainability that we create together, and at the same time, it's not too far from Thailand. The reason that I have to say this is that if you look at Japan as another country, it could be very, very far. But if you think that it's like that's another city like Bangkok, that makes you feel more comfortable, and you feel like, yeah, that's limitless. And I want to see that challenges. I want to see the movement happen within the organizations, as well as in the social part. We can make sure that the market that we have in the domestic market will not cause the risk for our farmers. We have the extra market in overseas, like Japan, that we create JV or joint venture that they can handle to take care of the market. So when you look at the drive, besides creating or generating the inspirations for the young people and the team, but we're also looking at the opportunity to expand and extend to reduce the risk of the coffee market that could happen in Thailand. Probably will not happen, but it is something that will remark on the coffee map that yes, the local brand from Thailand, small from the local, can grow and then mark on the map for the coffee culture in Japan. I think that's create so many drive and inspiration for the many people as well, especially for the indigenous community.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Khun Lee. The time has run out. Maybe you could just give one final word of advice for any of our students or anybody else who's joined us in terms of becoming a social entrepreneur. Is there any final word of advice you might have for people who want to become a social entrepreneur?
Well, I think as I say, I will still repeat to the same statement that I make, is that being social entrepreneur, you have to be mindful person. At the same time, you have to be very humble, because these two things, I feel like it's create the belief that any obstacle that you're facing, any challenge that you meet, you could pass, you could solve, you could move on. So I think I think this is what I always use to myself, not just talking to the student or the people. Anytime that I have the turbulence that happened to my head, or like so many things that happen to my head, I come back to myself and looking back to the first that I start, so be mindfulness, and also being humble to people. I think that is something that I could say right now.
I think that's a great place to end the session. I mean, I see the word inspiring coming up a lot in the chat box as well, and a lot of thank yous to you as well for your inspiring session today. It's been really engaging, and we've learned a lot about Akha Ama and how your coffee is enriching people's lives and communities. I'd like to thank you, Khun Lee, for taking the time to be with us today. It's been really inspirational, the insights you've shared with us. And I'm sure a lot of our participants will be keen to try out Akha Ama coffee if they haven't already, and also to support your project in other ways too. So we wish you and the team and everyone who works for Akha Ama all the best for the future. We hope to see more social entrepreneurs following in your footsteps here in Thailand, Southeast Asia, and in other regions of the world as well. And I'd also like to thank everybody who's joined today. We hope you will continue to find this webinar series useful and enjoyable. So thank you again, Khun Lee.
You're welcome, Brett. And also thank you for everyone for sharing your questions. So hope to see all of you again in the near future.
Thank you so much. So wherever you are in the world, everyone stay safe. And maybe the next time you have a coffee, we hope you'll remember the hour we spent today with Khun Lee from Akha Ama. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone.